Joining us now, Senator Marsha Blackburn from Senate Judiciary. Senator, it's always a pleasure to have you on.
Good to see
you. We're going to get a new read on inflation likely Wednesday. It's going to probably show inflation still at its highest since 1981. Your reaction to the president tweeting and blaming the GOP for blocking him on rising gas prices, food, and energy?
This is something that is just absolutely laughable, that the White House would try to blame us. But look, he's blamed everybody else. He's blaming Putin. He's blaming Trump. He's blaming everybody. Nothing can be his fault. But what everybody knows in Tennessee, and certainly know this, and I talked to a lot of them the past couple of weeks, we have had an inflation issue because of Joe Biden. Much of it is because of his attacks on the energy industry. They know that when they go to fill up the tank, that it is costing them twice as much as it did a year ago. Our counties, when they look at the budgets for first responders and law enforcement and school buses and heating and cooling buildings, they're saying we're having to double what we spent last year in order to plan for our budget this year. This is not anybody's fault but Joe Biden, his administration, and this Green New Deal agenda that is pushing all of this.
And you know, Senator, the president did campaign saying he would not be blaming others, that the buck would stop with him, but it's not stopping with him, as Harry Truman had said. I mean, we're in a different world right now. You know, this new inflation read coming out, Senator, Americans are seeing 20% price increases in energy, in food, in the price of cars, and that's like 2/3 of the U.S. CPI, right? So let's, by the way, you mentioned the president being misleading and blaming. Senator, let's take a listen to this and what you just pointed out. Let's watch this.
Today's inflation report confirmed what Americans already know. Putin's price hike is hitting America hard. Oil companies, shipping companies. Republicans in Congress are doing everything they can to stop my plans to bring down costs.
Our economists have conveyed that they feel that the impact of our proposals will be transitory.
Transitory.
Well, what do you say to those families who say, listen, we can't afford to pay $4.85 a gallon for months, if not years?
This is about the future of the liberal world order, and we have to stand firm.
Senator, what does that mean, the future of the liberal world order, that Americans have to pay higher prices for that? What does that mean?
Here, this is their liberal utopia. They thought that they were going to be able to radically transform the country under Barack Obama. And then they would have Hillary Clinton and they would get the job done. It would be socialism. They would be in control. They're all about punishing people. And you look at what they've done. 42 regulations that make it more expensive for the oil and gas industry. Killing Keystone, taking Alaska offline, ending offshore drilling, no more leases, and they're not giving drill permits. They're not fracking. All of this drives up the cost. In the meantime, he's taking 5 million barrels that he is sending, much of that to China, to the company that Hunter Biden has been involved in. So is Hunter Biden the chief negotiator on this? Nothing gets the price down at the pump. Nothing. It drives the price up. This is hitting hardworking Americans in the pocketbook. They see it every time they fill up, every time they go to the grocery store, every time they check out at any store.
And Senator, you know, the president's approval rating is among the lowest of any president within the last 75 years. That's according to Gallup. I mean, Harry Truman had historic low approval. So did former President Trump. He was in the lower 40s just a year and a half into his presidency. You have that, but then you have the White House leaks. There are anonymous White House leaks. White House officials are leaking to the New York Times. That's on the rise. They're telling the Times Biden may be too old to run for re-election, that he, quote, now shuffles when he walks. Staffers are afraid he may trip on a wire while walking, that he stumbles over his words. And he had the New York Times Santa College polls, 2/3 of Democrats and 9 out of 10 millennials don't want Biden to run again. So who is doing the leaking and who do they want to run instead?
This is something that I think will make itself evident over the next few months. Clearly, the Democrats have figured out the Biden-Harris ticket is a loser for them, and you have Democrats that are admitting that everything that they're doing to the country, what is happening with crime, what's happening with the border, what is happening with our foreign policy, the embarrassment of Joe Biden not going to Houston. There is a solution in Houston to the gas problem, but flying to Saudi Arabia and begging, looking like a beggar, going and asking for more oil, it is an embarrassment. People are ready to turn the page with this administration, and it's why you're going to see a change in the House and the Senate with these November elections. And I think that many in the Democratic Party realize this.
Yes.
They know this has not been successful.
You know, the Congress is back from the July 4th recess, and Hillary Vaughn, a D.C. journalist, is reporting that Democrats want tax hikes as they seek that as a big legislative win ahead of the midterms. So let's watch former President Trump. Let's watch this. Watch.
I gave you the largest tax cuts and regulation cuts in American history. The radical Democrats are working like hell to impose the largest tax hike by far in American history to pay for the Green New Deal.
You know, the president, former President Trump, his words are resonating with people who support him across the country. You know, he says this as Steve Bannon is set to testify at the January 6 hearings, and former House Speaker Paul Ryan, in a new book, is quoted as saying he was sobbing when he watched the January 6 attack on the U.S. Capitol. How do you see this storyline playing out when it comes to former President Trump and the election?
When I am out and about in Tennessee, people, regardless of whether they're Democrat, Republican, Independent, they miss President Donald Trump. Their pocketbook was a little bit fatter during that period of time. They had more money at the end of the month, and economic policies, times were good. They miss that.
But the Capitol riots are hanging him up, right? There's a lot of leeriness and worry in the GOP party about a Trump candidacy, right?
There are three issues people are talking about: inflation, inflation, inflation.
Okay, Senator Blackburn, it's good to see you. Come back soon. Okay, this.